Hello everyone, my name is Awot, and today I'm going to be making a tree tier list. So as we all know, Age of Mythology has a bunch of trees, and they appear in certain maps based on the biome. With some of the most obvious ones being palm trees in the desert, oak trees in the grassland, and pine trees in the snow. As someone who makes custom maps for this game, the trees are one of the most essential parts to making a map look unique in this game, being on par with the land itself. So call me weird, but whenever a new DLC comes out, one of the first things I'm looking at in the trailers is what kind of trees do they have in the background. Like, I remember when the Japanese DLC trailer came out, I was looking at the trees trying to see what kind of snowy trees we got. And yeah, what kind of tree I use has really been important to making certain maps stick out. For example, Mount Awot really sticks out because of its black and golden color scheme, but nearly 95% of the golden map comes from the trees exclusively. Sunlight Strand's an also very popular map for the way it looks. Half of its look is defined by the peach pink trees. A lot of people love Awot Unknown for how random it looks, but the terrain in Awot Unknown only varies like 5 to 10 ways per biome, with most of the randomization truthfully coming from the trees itself. So to most players, it's just a basic resource that you chop down during a match, but to me as a map maker, the trees have by far been one of the most central focuses of the game for me. So today I'm going to be doing them the favor of putting them into a tier list so you guys can know which trees I like the most as a map maker. This tier list is going to be more based on my personal taste rather than me ranking it for any kind of objective value. There might be some rankings that are heavily opinionated, in which some people might disagree with, and that's perfectly fine if you disagree with it. And I'm by no means passing this off as like a definitive, absolute, objective tier list of any sort. I'm using my personal opinions here and just putting my thoughts out there personally for people to watch. So no, if I put a tree at the bottom tier, it does not mean I hope that tree gets deleted from this game. It just might mean I struggle with using it in my maps. But with all that yap out of the way, let's get to actually ranking the trees. So I'm just going to be doing the trees in alphabetical order. So first off, we have bamboo. And there's actually two types of bamboo in this game, so I'm going to clarify this from the beginning so no one's confused. There's bamboo, and there's bamboo single. Bamboo consists of 3 bamboos put together, while bamboo single is only 1 bamboo. So right now I'm ranking bamboo, which is the one with 3 as one entity. And overall, I love how bamboo looks. It's by far the least traditional tree of sorts. On top of that, it's green. It's a nice shade that complements most grounds without blending in too much of them. As weird as that sounds, you want the green of the tree to be slightly different from the green of the ground. Because if they're exactly the same color, people are going to have trouble seeing that and they're going to start complaining. I think overall, bamboo has a really nice green that complements most of the ground types without causing that confusion. On top of that, overall, thematically, it just makes a lot of sense to put into a lot of maps because bamboo is just such a versatile plant. It makes sense for bamboo to be in the desert. It makes sense for bamboo to be on a mountainside. It makes sense for bamboo to be in a grassy area because there's a different type of bamboo that survives in all of those climates. The only biome type I can disagree putting bamboo in would be the snowy biome type. So that just makes it really versatile. And even if you don't use it as a primary wood type, it goes great in a mix. Like when the forest has several tree types, bamboo is a good secondary tree type to have. You may notice in a lot of my maps, or even rare versions, bamboo is used a lot as a secondary tree. That being said, there is one problem with bamboo I gotta talk about. I think only one other tree in the game suffers from this problem, and that tree kind of suffers from this problem from on a much bigger scale than this one. But nevertheless, this tree still suffers from it, and I gotta talk points for it, and that is it is laggy. Being made of 3 entities instead of 1, having a lot of it can lag your computer and tank your performance. And for that, I must unfortunately knock it down a tier to B tier. I'm sorry. But hey, now you can say B stands for bamboo and call it the bamboo tier. That being said, though, the next up on the list is bamboo parentheses single, which is literally the same thing except instead of being 3 bamboo, it's 1 bamboo. And the single bamboo doesn't suffer from the lagging issue as much as the triple bamboo does. So I'll put bamboo single in A tier. All the other things I have to say about bamboo single, I think I already said about bamboo, the positives. Next up, we have the cherry tree. This was introduced in the Japanese pantheon, and I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks much better than its neighbor, the peach tree. Now, where am I going to rank this? F tier. Wait. Didn't I just say it was amazing? I did, but I cannot confidently use this as a tree in my maps. Because cherry trees are a gameplay element, they are meant to signify where shrines are built. Making a map where the forests are all cherry trees is going to make that difficult for people playing the Japanese pantheon or playing against them. And with this in mind, I cannot use them in any of my maps at all. And therefore, I have to put an F tier because it cannot be used in my maps. Don't get me wrong, I love this tree. I think it looks fantastic. I just can't use it in my maps if I don't want to confuse the players. Because I actually did try this in beta testing, and nearly all the beta testers except one had something to say about the usage of cherry trees. The next tree is the Chinese pine tree. For some unknown reason, Age of Mythology considers this a desert tree, and a snow tree and use it in both environments. And one thing that peeved me about this tree was that despite the Immortal Pillars introducing so many tree types, the Ginkgo tree, Ginkgo autumn tree, peach blossom tree, bamboo single, the Metasequoia tree, Metasequoia autumn, so many trees, and for some reason, Age of Mythology decided to use this single tree for nearly all of the skirmish maps. Yeah, that's right. The skirmish maps have one map that uses Metasequoia, I think, one that uses peach blossoms, and one that uses bamboo, and then the rest all use Chinese pine for some reason. And for some reason, the snowy maps use Chinese pine as well, but do not have a snowy Chinese pine variant. And the worst part is, I just think this tree looks too generic. Like, it's weird enough that I do not throw it in all my mixes, but it's also not outstandishly cool looking in any way. And honestly, when they introduced Buddhist pine tree in the Japanese DLC, I honestly just consider Buddhist pine a better looking version of this tree. So anytime I have an urge to use a tree that kind of looks like this, I just choose Buddhist pine over this one. So between me feeling like it already got enough love from Age of Mythology being overused in so many maps, and then my genuine feeling that even if it wasn't used in so many maps, I feel like Buddhist pine is just a better version of this tree. I really don't use this tree that often. And as a result, I'm going to give it a C tier. The only advantage this thing has over Buddhist pine is that for some reason it's also considered a desert tree, so I can have an excuse to occasionally throw this in the desert. You might see like Awot Unknown or Awot Nomad use it randomly every now and then for its desert variants, but that's the only thing it's got going for it. Any other usage outside of the desert, I feel like Buddhist pine does its job better. I should also mention that when coding it into my maps, it's the only type of pine tree that doesn't start with the word pine, if that makes sense. Like the other pine trees, like brown pine, its code name is pine brown. Snow pine's code name is pine snow. Normal pine's code name is pine. Dead pine's code name is pine dead. And then Buddhist pine's code name is pine Buddhist. But for some reason, this one breaks that code name convention and it's called Chinese pine in the code names. And that's just adds another reason for me to dislike it, the inconsistency and confusion each time I try to code it. But maybe I'm just an absolute hater. Let me know in the comments if I'm being too harsh on this tree and maybe I should give it some more love sometime. Next up is the Cypress tree. And I used to be such a big fan of this tree, honestly. I noticed it was used in all the Greek buildings and I really like its unique shape. You can see I literally have two maps dedicated to just using Cypress trees. But since making more maps and playing this game a lot, I've grown to grow distant with the Cypress tree because I realize it's a really weak tree when by itself, especially on lower graphics. This I've seen people show me images of it on lower graphics and it looks absolutely terrible. So at best, the tree is just used for being an accent and grassy biomes only, which means its usage is going to be pretty situational. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to knock it down to C tier. Nice concept of the tree, just don't know where to put it, honestly. Now, next up we have is the dead tree. Now, you guys are probably looking at this right now and be like, wow, what a boring tree. But to me, this tree is amazing. It has so much usage. You can use it in a desert map. You can use it as an accent in any kind of biome, regardless of what biome it is. You can use it for underworld maps, volcano maps. It just fits in so many places. I think if you guys start paying attention to maps, you'll realize that the dead tree is found in more places than not. And while it looks is subpar, I'm gonna have to give this an S tier. I know this might be outrageous to some of you, but I'm giving this dead tree an S tier just because I can put in so many places, so many biomes, and it'll just match all of it. Even the winter biomes, this will look great in. If you put it on a dirt map, you have a dead feel, or you put it on a grassy map, then you have like a decaying field. It even goes good on autumn maps because, autumn, the leaves fall off the trees. Just so applicable in so many locations. Next up, you have the Gaia tree. It's the closest thing we get to a birch tree in the game, and one of my favorite trees in all games is birch tree. Minecraft, I love the birch tree. Here, I love the birch tree too, but unfortunately, I'm going to give it an F tier for the same reason I gave cherry trees F tier. This tree is meant to be a gameplay sort of thing. You can't really use it as sort of a decorative thing like you can with the other trees. This tree would really jack up people's build orders and a lot of other things because it just gives wood so much faster compared to a normal tree. It would also devalue Gaia players. So yeah, I only have a one map, which is Tomona's Nest, because that map is already weird enough, but that's the only place it's gonna have it, even though it's in limited quantities. It doesn't cover the entire map. And it is explicitly stated as a gameplay function, more of a decorative function. So yeah, in terms of using it as a forest type for my maps, it has to go in F tier of Cherry Tree as an unusable tier. Next up is the Ginkgo tree, and if I'm being honest, I used to vibe with this tree so hard. I liked that it was a lime green, it made it stand out from other trees, but its shape was a bummer because it's nice in singles, like if it's alone, but when you put such a circular tree next to other trees, it definitely stands out so much. And not to mention, the more I used it, the more I realized the lime of that tree stands out way too much compared to the grass. At a point, it just felt like a sore thumb. And for this, I'm going to knock it down to C tier, unfortunately, as in it doesn't have that many uses. Because outside of the maps I've already put them in, I don't find myself likely putting in more maps than that. On the other hand, you have its golden variant, the Ginkgo Autumn. Now, this might be a personal bias because it's literally the main showcase of Mount Awot, which is the map that started this entire mod in the first place. But I think the fact that it's the only tree in the game that is only yellow, in the sense that no matter what you do, the tree's going to be yellow, unlike other autumn trees, which also have a red or orange variant that randomly rolls, it gives it much greater leverage over those other trees that you can't control the color of since this one only appears as yellow. That being said, though, its uses are not that high compared to other trees. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to stick it in B tier because I think it looks fantastic. I like its ability to be controlled in the sense that it can only be yellow, and when I place in my maps, I can consistently expect that map to be, well, yellow. But that's it. Only using it for maps where I want yellow things is very limiting. Moving on, we have the Japanese maple tree. Now, I originally was a big fan of this tree until I found out it doesn't come exclusively in red. Like, yeah, I know that maple trees come in green and yellow in real life too, but for the purpose of map design, it would have been way cooler if it only came in red so I could be able to make red maps. But putting aside the fact that it doesn't only come in red, I still have to dock it even further than a normal autumn tree, because other autumn trees only come in red and orange, or yellow, but the maple tree comes in green as well. And when you're going for that autumn look in maps, having any sort of green kind of breaks the immersion for me. And unfortunately, with the maple tree, when it has that, it does exactly that. It breaks the immersion, so I have to dock it even further for that. Besides that, though, I think it's a great looking tree, and it had a lot of potential if they made it only red. But unfortunately, if I'm being honest, I have to go out of my way to find a reason to use this trees in my map. And because of that, I'm gonna have to put it in C tier. Because I can't put this tree in fully autumn maps due to the green, which is why Katsu Monsoon actually is a mix of green and yellow, just so it fit the maple trees. And then I don't know how to use this as an accent because of its many wild varying colors. So overall, just a rough pick to use, as much as I really do want to like it. I think it would have been much better justice if it was only red. Alright, this video is getting long, so I am gonna have to shorten it because unfortunately I did find out that long videos perform way worse on the platform than short videos. So I'm gonna do one more tree on the list and then I will continue this list in the upcoming days. And then there will be a final video where I visualize the tier list for you guys. So the last tree of the video will be the Marsh Tree. Now Marsh Tree is a weird situation because it is literally the tree of the marsh biome. Like if you do any marsh biome map without the Marsh Tree, it feels kind of wrong, which is what I said until the willow tree was added. But now you can do willow or maybe even bamboo in place of marsh and it'll still feel fine on a marsh biome map. So unfortunately, it is no longer the king of its own niche. That being said, I can see this having potential outside of marsh maps, though. Maybe as a very slight accent, you could put a marsh tree in a random mix of another very grassy or tropical map. But besides that, its use is really limited out of marsh biomes. And while I still use this for a majority of marsh biome maps, its competition has really cut down on it. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put this in B tier. I'll still give it a B instead of a C, since C tier trees are trees that I have to really go out of my way to find a usage for. But this one stays as the king of marsh maps for now. But yeah, maybe some of my takes were hot. Maybe a lot of you disagree with them. And that's fine, these are just my takes on the trees. I'm probably like the only person on the internet who looks this deep into Age of Mythology's trees anyway. But let me know what you guys think. If you're a friend watching this video, you know where to find me. You know where to send your hate message. Besides that, thank you for watching and have a great day. I'll see you in part 2.